Hi everyone, welcome to my screencast video. Today we're going to be talking about race. The idea of race has both changed and not changed over time in the United States. People today are still fighting over racial equality, but we are in a much better place than society was many years ago. All the primary sources that I have included add to the idea of race in these secondary articles. There have been many lives lost over race and equality and will continue to be until everyone is equal to each other and notices the real problems that are happening in society. In this photo of the 1959 Little Rock rally that was taken by John T. Belso, adds to the idea of race as a social construct written by Gordon Hodson. In the photograph, we can see a group of white American adults with picket signs that read, "Race mixing is communism." Below the photo in the caption, it reads, "This image shows how worries and desegregation were bound up with other concerns such as race, such as the reach of communism and government power." This only adds to the ideas that were represented in race as a social construct, because the article talks about how even today people have different ideas of race mixing physically. In South Africa, if you are mixed race, which means white and black, you're considered colored. But it's not in a derogatory way, just another way of showing your status. However, in America, there's still this one drop rule, which has long dominated how people view race in America, that states that even if you have one drop of blood in you, you are considered black. Through Obama's presidency, people from all races declared that he wasn't black enough or that he was too black. Even within social groups, there were disagreements. So even in today's world, the talk of mixing races doesn't have a clear divide. And in some places, it's just taboo. In Frederick Douglass's speech, "What to the slave is the 4th of July," adds to the idea of race in race, social, and cultural anxieties in the American YAWP. In his speech, Douglass tries to remind Black Americans that America fought for their freedom from Great Britain, but will not fight for the freedom of their own slaves. He states that African Americans need to fight for their own freedoms. Here he talks about how he's disgusted by the fact that there's even a holiday fighting for freedom when not all of America's people are free. In the first picture that is presented in race, social, and cultural anxieties in the American YAWP, there is an African American man being violently arrested after a riot that occurred where Blacks were fighting for their rights. It also adds to the idea because the Black Power movement that was mentioned in the same chapter kept rising even after the assassinations of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. In other words, we're still fighting for racial equality through riots, through movements, that Frederick Douglass said we should be doing. I think he'd be proud of that too, that at least we're fighting to have this, to try to have equality in our world. In Thomas Morton Reflects on Indians in England, 1637, in the American YAWP, it also adds to the idea of race and how white people viewed a black person or a person of color and their problems. In this case, it was Thomas Morton versus Indians or Native Americans. Thomas Morton kept mentioning how Native Americans use their powers from the devil to have better vision or to heal people. We see that here, some correspondence they have with the devil out of all doubts, as by some of their actions in which they glory is manifested. Also in this note here, when they're talking about healing another man, obviously they can only heal them with the help of the devil, as may be conjectured, according to Mr. Morton. I do apologize for that noise. But as we were saying, another example would be down here when he states, I have observed that the savages have the sense of seeing so far beyond any of our nation that one would almost believe they had the intelligence of the devil. Sometimes when they told us of a ship at sea, which they have seen sooner by 1 hour, yet 2 hours sail, than any Englishman that stood by of purpose to look out, their sight is so excellent. Just adds to the idea that, they can't be who they are without some help from the devil. There's always, you can't be better than me because obviously you have the help of the devil to help you out with being able to do all these things, which was kind of normal back then. If someone didn't understand something, not right at all, by no means right, but they used to say if they couldn't understand something, it was the help of the devil, instead of actually trying to understand how they did it. And yet Mr. Morton admired them at the same time. In one of these quotes about the younger of the Native Americans, he said, the younger are always obedient unto the elder people, and yet their commands in every respect without grumbling in all councils. The younger men's opinion shall be heard, but the old men's opinion and counsel embraced and followed. The consideration of these things, methinks, should reduce some of our irregular young people of civilized nations, when this story shall come to their knowledge, to better manners, and make them ashamed of their former error in this kind, and yet become hereafter their more dutiful. In race, social, and cultural anxieties, when riots broke out in the 60s, in 67, white conservatives blamed riots because of liberal culture, and encouraged civil disobedience. Instead of listening to groups such as the Black National Business League or the rioters themselves, on what the real issues are in society and how they can be helped. This just goes to show, instead of listening to what's actually going on, paying attention, they want to create a whole nother issue and blame a whole nother idea that isn't even there, isn't even happening, just so they have an explanation for it instead of fixing the problem. All of these sources here just add to the idea that yes, there has been change in racial equality over time. And people have fought and died over rights and freedoms just to get where they are today, just to get where we are today. And it also adds to the fact that there's still so far that we have to go for everyone to be purely equal to each other. And there's still so much work that needs to be done to truly be equal to each other and for race not to even matter in things to make us all equal. We still have a long way to go, but we have come far. So this is it for my video. I hope you enjoyed it. Here are my sources for the pictures and all my primary and secondary sources. Thank you for listening.